Welcome to Mindfork. First off, I want to thank you all for joining me on this incredible journey. We hit 2,000 subscribers 2 days ago as I'm releasing this video, so I just wanted to quickly say thank you all so much. And I hope you stick around. Tell your friends too, I'm a chill guy. So, today, as you would have guessed, we're talking about basics in behaviour in reference to the new YouTube series Fundamental Paper Education. Well, I say new, but the creator has said that technically Basics in Behaviour isn't actually the first episode. It's more a episode 0 or a prologue. Regardless, when this came up in my feed, I got really curious. What instantly got me was the art style, which I think is pretty incredible. Then, what got me next was the heavily graphic content. Lord knows I'm a fan of the brutal and horrific, so I was hooked. It also took me aback how fast a community was made around it. Though admittedly, the story is kinda hard to follow. In fact, when I first started research on this video, I wasn't even able to find where the name Fundamental Paper Education came from. It seems it was a pitch from the creator in a comment that was later edited away. But because of all that, I just had to sink my teeth into it. So if you haven't seen it yourself, you're missing out. I'll put a link to the video in the description below so you can watch it and then come back to hear my analysis on it. If you can't be bothered, then here's a quick overview. Claire is a new student coming to paper school for the semester, and is also our protagonist for this journey. She walks through the halls and eventually rotates through Miss Circle's, Miss Thavel's and Miss Bloomy's classrooms. While she's working, however, she has paper planes and trash thrown at her by 3 other students, Oliver, Edward and Zip. Oliver is also an important character here since he's not actually a student at this school. He's also a little bit older than the others. The creator claims that he and Alice, I'll talk about her later, went to university. Back in the video, the scene cuts to Abby, a new character, being accosted by Miss Circle for failing her class, eventually getting angry enough to smash her own desk and chase Abby out into the corridor. After a brief chase, Abby is unfortunate enough to be caught and brutally beaten using the large compass replacing Miss Circle's left arm. Another student, Lana, witnesses this attack and is killed as well, which is revealed later on in the video so we don't explicitly see it at this moment. The scene then cuts to Miss Circle, Miss Thavel and Miss Bloomy walking down the hall towards the pool area, wide smiles on their faces. A nice moment here where we see the other characters swimming around, making a mess, stirring up trouble, etc. And then another cut, this time to the library. This one is a little odd since it has a border of some kind around the outside, and is quite faded. I'd assume this meant that the scene was a memory or someone explaining something, but I'm not sure about that. A small drone ends up picking up Claire as she's talking to Engel and drops her in a pit in the middle of the library. Although this might just be a pinch of creative liberty since it's more likely she was just thrown off the top floor balcony as she climbs up the stairs shortly after. Right before that, however, there's a short montage of Alice, the person that we mentioned before, walking around the school, overlaid with the same images we see in the Learning is Fun book at the beginning, as well as a bunch of real pens, pencils, scissors, etc. After Claire leaves the library, she ends up running into Miss Bloomy, who gives her her grade back, one big ol' F. And so another chase begins, and as she runs away, she encounters both Miss Circle and Miss Thavel, who also start chasing after her. Eventually, she gets cornered and has her ankle sliced so she can't run. But right before Miss Circle can beat her to death, our good friend Engel saves the day, giving Claire a chance to run. She manages to turn the corner and spots the bodies of Abby and Lana before running off towards a different, familiar looking door that says exit on it. When Claire runs through, she's given a bit of a watercolour makeover, and after catching her breath, sees Alice
just standing there, menacingly!
The rest of the video is Claire trying to run away from a shape-shifting and teleporting Alice, eventually getting diced and sliced just inside the locked front doors of the school. Students and teachers alike look over her body in disgust, with the final scene showing Oliver and Zip taking the exit sign off Alice's door and getting reprimanded by Miss Circle for placing it there in the first place. Now, there is a lot I didn't mention, since it's better to watch the actual video, and I'll get into those smaller pieces later anyway. So what's the deal here? There's a lot happening and a lot you can miss in this one video, so let's take it step by step and answer one question at a time. I did a little digging outside of this video, and after looking at some of Katie's Twitter posts, it's clear that Alice likes eating raw meat, biting into a rabbit and presumably a human heart that Oliver provides. Weird place to start the theory, given, but let me explain. In Basics and Behavor, when Alice chases Claire down and kills her, she doesn't actually eat her. Aside from her right arm, Claire isn't actually missing any body parts, as far as I could tell. So if Alice didn't want to eat her, then why kill her? Was it just for going into her room? I believe there's something in Alice's room that she needs to protect. If something were in there, something so secretive that the only solution is to kill whoever saw it, it would explain her extremely aggressive behaviour. Whatever's in there is so potent, in fact, that simply leaving the door open causes reality-altering changes to flood out. So I think that whatever's in there has the ability to change Paper School and everyone inside, like we saw, and I think the way she does it is through the book. The Learning is Fun book may be the world we're sent into, a world separate from reality and entirely different from our own. We zoom into the Paper School image after all to begin our descent into this world. Something I found interesting, however, is the progression of images in the book. First, we get two drawings of Miss Circle and Zip, two very innocent looking doodles with hearts and stars littered about. I assume those lines next to their portraits are text, but since it's not actually text, I don't know what to make of it. They remind me of character profiles though, so maybe that's what's going on there. Nothing inherently bad. Next page we have Riley, who takes up the entire section. This time, instead of looking like informational material like the last did, this is just an image, made big enough to get a lot more detail in. I find this odd since Riley doesn't have the most important part in this story, well, in Basics and Behavor, so I'm not sure why she's here. Although she may end up being an important character anyway, so we just have to wait for the other episodes to come out. On the next page, we finally hit Oliver, a large part of this universe as previously mentioned. First time we see actual text and it's quite haphazardly placed. Now it resembles a Crush's diary entry of some kind. And on the last page we finally have a full portrait of Miss Circle, looking a lot more aggressive, feral and acting more like a weaponized version of herself than in her image at the start of the book. If I'm right that Alice has the book and is writing her characters into reality, then it wouldn't be a leap to say that this book is Paper School. A whole new alternate reality controlled by whatever is set on that paper. At first it seemed like Alice just wanted a place to put her characters, getting into more detail as she went along, but then Oliver happened, and whether he was made by her or came about himself, Alice fell hard for him, and started using the world to get them together, every other character be damned. Then, perhaps deciding that there weren't enough stakes to make this world interesting, or to act as her protectors, or for some other reason, Alice twisted the teachers into bloodthirsty monsters, only attacking those with failing grades. But of course, she couldn't let her beloved get hurt by these people, so she gave him an everlasting A+ on his head, signifying that he is always off limits. She may have also made Oliver, Edward and Zip their favourite students for this same reason. We should also note a couple of smaller details too. Alice as a character is not mentioned or seen at all until things start getting a little weird. In fact, the first time the animation deviates and adopts a clear book-style motif is 39 seconds in, where a page turns, showing drawings of Oliver alongside his name. We see I Love Alice appear on the wall behind Claire immediately after. I'm going to call these moments scrapbook movements. The second time a scrapbook movement happens is right after Miss Circle kills Abby, and things transition back to the teachers, seemingly with no explanation on what just happened. The other two teachers also change slightly, going from having these wide toothy grins on their faces as they walk down the hall. To backtrack a little, based on the way Lana reacts when Abby is killed, this isn't something that happens often, but based on the rules that Miss Circle sets out, you get a bad grade you die, it seems odd that anyone would be surprised, since surely this isn't the first time someone has had a bad grade, so it makes more sense to me that this is a very recent change. Could it be that those scrapbook movements are Alice altering things in real time? Possibly. Well, halfway through the video there's a short scene getting our first look at Alice. Unlike any of the animation before it, she's coloured in, dark, far more fluid in her movements, like a completely different entity. Like I mentioned before too, there's also a bunch of details on top, all around the border. Scrapbooking tools. I believe this as well as those scrapbook movements, is Alice making changes to the book. Sometimes just making small changes, but then using the pencils, scissors and pens we see to create something new, to create her. We first see the door, then Alice herself, another shot of her moving, and then her reputation. This is her constructing her place in the world. She can't very well just show up as a random student, she needs more power than that to keep the book safe. And I hate to make such an obvious connection, but the idea that an Alice can jump between the real world and a fantastical one should ring a bell. Our good old Alice in Wonderland. This is definitely not the Alice we grew up with, but a fun one nonetheless. Aside from that, there's a couple other things too, like why did Miss Circle kill Lana after she saw Abby, but not Engel? While I'm not 100% certain of this, I'd say that it was simply a coincidence. Katie's community posts have a lot of additional information, and one such post has the profiles of Engel, Lana and Abby, along with 2 other characters. The description says they are quite good students and are very interested in studies, but Lana and Abby hardly understand anything. That suggests to me that Lana was quite literally up next on the chopping block, and it just so happened that she saw the situation unfold with Abby. If Lana was failing and Engel wasn't, then it explains why Engel was spared and Lana wasn't. And that's it. I believe Alice made this world using her Learning is Fun book, and when she encountered Oliver, she used the power at her disposal to create a world for the 2 of them, even going so far as to rip apart the world that already existed there. After inserting herself into the book, she created a room to protect it, killing anyone that dared come in. Before I end this video, for anyone paying attention to my upload schedule, you'll have noticed that I didn't upload anything last week. The main reason is that the video I was working on crashed while I was editing it, which I feel was a bit of a blessing in disguise since 1, I wasn't really feeling it by the time I had written it out, and 2, having those extra few days just to chill was kinda nice. That video was originally going to be about Zoonomaly, but it was very hard to pick up any details on it. I did originally get the game to have a look myself, but I could not for the life of me get to the ending. And so it really just was a lot of guesswork and not really a theory I was proud of. Though if you're curious about it, maybe I'll release it as a lost video or something later down the line. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what I do and want to see more, subscribe. I love hearing your guys' thoughts on my theories. So leave your opinions on it down in the comments, and if you have any suggestions on what to theorize about next, let me know. Join me for the ride if you fancy, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.